simply weren't game to keep running in case it caused an engine bay fire.
Well, it's a hard day for Greg Crick and Terry Finnegan, both getting into all sorts of dramas in the Alcare Commodore. And pushing on regardless. Here's Shell number 17, running back there in 7th position at the moment. Dick Johnson at the wheel, recovering from that spin. And there's his wounded teammate up in front. Let's have a look at this on the Special Vehicles replay. Who's this? Oh, that's
Scaife and Charlie O'Brien coming together.
We saw Charlie O'Brien running across the grass before, and we just wondered what the beginning of that incident was. And he's getting back onto the track, and he did a little bit of damage. Look like there he goes. Yeah, he just flicked the spoiler as he came across back onto the bitumen, and that will have done some damage. Well, you can see there, he's got this tremendous amount of air flowing under the car and it's starting to flap that bodywork around. And all it can do in that situation is start to fatigue that component more and more. So Charlie could be in trouble. They may even black flag the car and bring it into the pits to make a repair.
Well, they're two of our Network 10 expert commentators. They're not supposed to be hitting each other.
Yes, Mark Scaife and Charlie O'Brien coming together there, but Charlie's got some problems here. That front under tray, very critical part of the aerodynamic balance on these V8 supercars, and if there's any damage there, it makes it very difficult to drive.
Mark, we might just take a pause in commentary because you can actually hear this severely flapping.
Tray looks like it's coming loose. You can see it getting hammering there under the car. There's bits and pieces breaking off everywhere. So Charlie's got a disintegrating front spoiler on this car. I'm not sure how long he can stay out there. If it breaks off, falls out of harm's way, the officials probably leave it alone, but it continues to cause a problem. There you can see it, a great shot of it. A big under tray flapping up and down off the road surface. Charlie will have his fingers crossed they'll leave him out there, at least until the next pit stop.
So we'll wait and see what happens there. He's going into the pits. Charlie O'Brien is pitting, so we'll stay with this and see what the Castrol Ford team do. It's been an anxious moment for Tony Longhurst to be watching on. Charlie O'Brien was going so well. He was sitting in 7th position. He then dropped back to 9th, courtesy of that little incident. So we'll see how quickly the Longhurst team can get this front spoiler change. They're going in and they're doing a pad change.
Taking this opportunity. They didn't change the pads in the first stop, so they're going to take the opportunity to do that right now. So front spoiler comes off, new spoiler on. See, it's a very lightweight section made from a carbon fiberglass composite, and held on by a few different pieces there. There's Charlie. Not having a good day. John Smales.
Yes, indeed, Mark. They've already had 2 stops. This is their 3rd stop. Longhurst stopped on lap 32, got off those radically cut wet weather tyres and got onto a medium cut wet weather tyre. Then on the scheduled stop, which happened about lap 64, they went on to a normal wet weather tyre. Now this is happening. Tony, in fact, was at the back of the garage, wasn't prepared for this, and has only just now come out, as you can see, without his helmet on, and has been called back from where he was actually having a massage at the back of the pit to see Charlie go out. Now, this has not been a bad stop, all things told. It was 1 minute and 12 seconds for a new spoiler and new front pads.
Fantastic stuff from the Longhurst team. And Mark, it's very interesting to think that that team had done 2 stops already, and yet they were still in the top 10. Charlie was sitting in 7th position.
Yeah, it's been producing good speed, hasn't it? In the dry conditions here, in the untimed sessions earlier on, Longhurst fastest man here in the first session Friday. They've carried that speed through. It's been a very effective race car, and I think they're looking pretty good for Bathurst. I think they can sort out any last-minute problems at Sandown. Here's David Parsons in the Ford Credit Falcon, getting gobbled up by the 05 Commodore of our race leader, Craig Lowndes. Now out to 1 minute 9 seconds, the lead over second place Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore. Bit of a drag race down Peter Brock Straight. Go hard under brakes. Parsons wants to argue, but Lowndes sneaks through very neatly on the inside and continues his surge toward that checkered flag.
Well, he's just continuing so well in terms of consistency of lap times. It's in the 123s, 124s. Occasionally it's dropped down to the 122s. Lowndes is just doing a good job. Looked like the Steniken entry there coming back onto the circuit after exiting it. Wyn Percy has worked his way up into 3rd. So Wyn Percy in the Faulkner car is doing an exceptional job.
It really is an outstanding drive by Wynn. I mean, John Faulkner put in an absolute blinder in the first session. Got plenty of laps out of the car. Percy into the car now. 93 laps completed. 94 laps completed. And they're up to third position.
The Holden Racing team were very happy in the last couple of weeks. They've just secured sponsorship from Primus Telecommunications Group, of course, naming rights sponsors to the big one at Mount Panorama, the Primus 1000. They've got involved with two major teams, Holden Racing team, both cars, and they've also got involved with the car right behind, Glenn Seaton, Ford Credit Racing, and it's not just a one-off thing, it's actually a multi-year deal, so both teams very happy to secure that sponsorship.
Looking back, Neil Crompton hanging on in fourth position, but he's really hanging on by his fingernails. His lap times have fallen off pretty dramatically. He's running around the 1:26-second bracket, so maybe that change to slicks hasn't worked out too well for him.
The Shell Helix race score. It is Lowndes who leads the way and is looking very good at the moment. Ingle. Then we go back to Wynn Percy. It's been a bit of a surprise. He's going exceptionally well. Crompton hanging in fourth, and then back to the young guy, Jason Bright.
The Richards in the Valvoline Commodore hanging on in sixth. Johnson and Bow in seventh. Hossack and Ellery, they're back to eighth now. Bugwana and Noski ninth. And Stephen Johnson in 10th position.
Let's have a look back 11 through 15. Charlie O'Brien. Then we go back to the Parsons, the Waldock Smith entry, Trimble and Mazira, and Conway and Monahan. More after this.
Watching 10's exclusive coverage of the Tickford 500 at Sandown. Car 79 is the Mike Conway Monahan car, which was in fact in the top three in the privateers contest at one stage, but obviously having a lot of trouble in the pits. Right now, youngster Jason Bright is out on the track moving the Alan Jones car, the Komatsu Falcon, up into fourth place, but the race leader is Craig Lowndes. Lowndes doing a terrific job, and we've said it a couple of times already that we could be looking at a repeat performance. Lowndes, Murphy, Wynn, still Ingle sitting in second spot. Bright has now, according to our timing monitor, just overtaken for that third spot. As we have a look at the CBS mining entry of Kevin Waldock and John Smith. John Smith behind the wheel. They're sitting back in 13th position.
Yeah. Just a confirmation from the pits whether it's actually Waldock or Smith behind the wheel at this stage. But soldiering on, Kevin Waldock, bit of a late starter in motorsport too. He's 50 years of age this year, lives up in Singleton in the Hunter Valley, New South Wales. Explosives expert in the mining industry. And 8 starts in the Tickford 500. His best finish, 2 times third in the Tickford 500, both in 1990 and 1991 when he was running the Ford Sierra prepared by the Stone brothers. So he's got quite a good record in endurance racing. And yeah, we've had it confirmed that is Kevin Waldock behind the wheel. And Kevin tells us that what an unusual story at the Primus 1000 of Bathurst this year. This car will be carrying a passenger seat for a 107-year-old ghost called Miss Clancy, which Waldock said he met staying in a pub in far north Queensland. Now, some blokes down in the pits reckon he's been playing around with his explosives too much. But we'll keep an eye out for Miss Clancy when he gets to Mount Panorama.
Lap 100 of 161, so 61 laps to go. There's the Castrol Cougars entry with Karen Brewer behind the wheel. Very special moment, a very special day for these two young ladies. They are the first all-female team to compete at the Tickford 500 in a V8 supercar. They are sitting back in 15th position. And keep in mind there was around about 24 cars. There was 24 cars that started this race. They're sitting 15th and doing very well. Karen
Brewer, 23 years of age, not a girl, enormous amount of experience in motorsport. She's done some racing in supercarts, the 250cc supercarts. She competed in the Mazda 121 series last year, and she's also done a few drives in the ROH Commodore series, which you saw in action earlier on today. So she has an enormous amount of experience, only a young girl, and both herself and Melinda Price have done a terrific job coming to grips with the power of V8 supercar.
Well, we're back at the Tony Longhurst pit, and things, well, they exited the pit, but now they're back in there, and the motor's not going. Mechanics under the car, so things not going so well now for Tony Longhurst and Charlie O'Brien. They were, and we just see that mechanic there just shaking his head, so whether there's some terminal problems.
Yeah, Big Charlie won't be happy with that. He's been telling us all year when when he was angling for this drive, when he knew he'd secured the drive, that this was a car to watch. Had an enormous amount of confidence in the package. Engines by Barry Seaton, a very experienced engine builder. Car working well on its later generation Yokohama tyres. Let's go down to John Smales, who's with Tony Longhurst.
Tony Longhurst, it's just the spoiler off again.
I've got a mouthful of food on power bar. Yeah, broke a bracket underneath the cross member, so we had to replace the bracket.
So what was Charlie telling you that he was feeling out there at 250 kilometres an hour?
He was just saying he was scraping, he could hear a noise and lost a little bit of downforce, but, you know, I suppose the problem with long-distance races, you can't make a mistake. And I'm not sure what happened, but he touched another car, or another car touched him, and that's the end of that.
When you lose downforce at that sort of speed up the back straight, Tony, what does it feel like?
It's very dangerous. When you come over the rise, the car would just literally go straight ahead, so it is dangerous, and he did the right thing coming straight in.
Well, if there's a positive to come out of this today, they've certainly got some good feedback on the car as a lead up to the Primus 1000. They've seen that they can run with the pack. They've seen that they can actually set the pace. They've had a good weekend in terms of that. They're not going so well at the moment, but you'll hear a lot of the teams and a lot of the drivers say, yeah, this is an important race to us, but it is very, very important in terms of feedback as a lead up to the Primus 1000, and the Tony Longhurst team have certainly got that today.
Yeah, well, I know they've got a very big grind ahead of them. 61 laps around that place. It's a test on everything. And if you can use the Tickford 500 as a half-distance warm-up for that, you can really check out any weaknesses in your race package. Let's look at the Shell Helix race score. Murphy and Lowndes continue to lead. I think it was out to 1 minute 20 seconds last time around over this car. Perkins and Ingle, Russell Ingle at the wheel at the moment. Jones and Bright. Now, that's a great drive. Jason Bright doing his stint in Alan Jones Komatsu Ford. He's hanging on to third position. Faulkner and Percy. Well, Percy's just been moved out of third by Bright and the Falcon. There's the Richards duo. Johnson and Bow hanging on in sixth. Hossack and Ellery moved up one place to seventh. Bargwana and Noski coming back in the Young Lions car in eighth position. There's the positions.
Here he is right here, Jason Bright, the Komatsu Pertec Falcon. Further back behind that, we see the Ford Credit Falcon, but here's the young guy behind the wheel. He's had a great year. He returned from overseas, where, as Mark Osel told you earlier on, he was competing in the US Formula Ford 2000 competition. He became Australian champion for the Formula Holdens this year. He had a great year. Now he scored this drive for the Tickford 500 with Alan Jones, and a question mark next to the Primus 1000. Kart World Series driver Scott Pruitt has been penciled in for the drive with Alan Jones. Now, if Pruitt can't make it, there's still a little bit of a question mark there. Then Jason Bright will get in. That's his best lap, a 120.94. They're lapping around about the 123s at the moment. So fingers crossed for Jason anyway that he does get that drive. It would be good to see Scott Pruitt come out.
Mark Scaife sneaks up the inside of Glenn Seaton. Both cars in trouble. They're way down the order. No chance of winning the event, but using it as a very valuable test session. Let's have a look at this replay, HSV replay, and yeah, little bump there. Little contact between Mark Scaife and Glenn Seaton as he tries to find a way past in the 05 Commodore. I think he's done it now. Left Seaton way behind. Tremendous straight line speed of the car once he got in front. And Castrol Cougars, we're just talking about what a good job the girls were doing. Karen Brewer and Melinda Price, they've stopped just coming out of NGK corner. That'll be a great disappointment to them.
They were going so well. Karen Brewer was sitting in 15th position. That is no longer. That car is stationary. We don't have an idea. Here's Scaife up the inside of Jason Bright. Well, you heard it from Peter Brock, and everybody else knew it was going to happen, that Mark Scaife would just wring this car's neck. They're in 19th position. They're still 10 laps down. Mark Scaife is in the 122 bracket. He's not too far off the quickest lap, so he's going very well in the 05 Oval HRT Commodore.
Just amazing how Peter Brock's luck has changed in the later years of his career. There was a stage where he was known as Peter Perfect, and it was a very apt description. Didn't matter what he did, he would manage to come through. Luck was always on his side, but in later years, extraordinary little things like that have happened to race cars, and particularly at Bathurst. So it's just it's amazing how his luck has changed in the final years of his illustrious career.
Didn't seem to bother him too much earlier on, though. He had a smile and he said, oh, well, let's just go out there and have a bit of fun. We're too far behind to do anything about winning this thing, but let's go out there and have a bit of fun and use it as a bit of prep for the big one at Mount Panorama.
And if he wants to win that 10th big one, he couldn't have a better co-driver. Mark Scapey's just reminded the motor racing world that he still is one of the absolute top guns of Australian touring car racing. Set the track alight all this week. He really has been squeezing an enormous amount of speed out of the car, and he is really pumped for a big race at Mount Panorama.
It's got a quick shot of John Trimble there in the Bottle Magic entry. Mark Scape will be looming up on the back of him very quickly. To keep you up to date, it's Lowndes, Ingle, Bright, Percy, Richards, Johnson, Hossack, Bargwana, Crompton and Baird, John Smales.
And I just had the unpleasant duty of telling Melinda Price that it looks like she's out of the motor race. Melinda, you don't know what happened.
No, from what I've heard, Karen's, the car's just stopped apparently. I don't think she's gone off or anything. That's all we know. We can't communicate with her on the radio, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see it on the TV. Very disappointing.
Just the worst baptism of fire today in these sort of conditions in a long distance race.
Look, it's been a miserable day, and we've both, been so careful to stay on the track and build up to a good position while everyone else, went off and played in the mud, and everything was going fine. So, I don't know, to have a mechanical failure, we've both done the best I can, and I guess it's very disappointing for everyone.
Just how hard has it been for you in these sort of conditions?
Well, I was lucky enough to drive in the rain over at Perth, so I guess it wasn't too daunting to start with. But as soon as the track starts to dry out and we're on wet weather tyres, the dry line comes and the tyres start going funny, and as soon as you get off the line, then, it's really taily. So I guess I'd prefer that it started pouring with rain again. Now, Karen's gone out on intermediate, so I guess it's better suited for how it is. But I don't know, hopefully we can fix the problem and keep on going.
Melinda, if we don't see it, Bathurst.
Thanks, definitely.
Yeah, great initiative, wasn't it, from Castrol Australia, John Clark and the team, to working with Larry Perkins to set up that Castrol Coupe operation. It's great to see young female talent getting a start in the premier category of Australian motorsport, and we hope that continues. It's a great initiative.
The Bottle Magic team, John Trimble and Thomas Mazira. Thomas has finished third 3 times, including last year with Peter Brock as a part of the HR team. And there's a bit of a hiccup here with David Parsons coming into pit in the number 30. Well, I was just about to say the number 30 Ford Credit Falcon, of course, is bearing the number 1 now after winning the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Now let's stay with us and have a look what's going on. Looked like David missed the pit bay. He's going to go around the back. It's coming underneath.
Now keep in mind, we were watching this pit action, lap 106. Those lead cars that pitted on about lap 54, 55, they should be due in for their second scheduled stop pretty soon. We're looking at about lap 108, 109. So only 2 or 3 laps away from another flurry of pit activity as those lead drivers come around for their second and hopefully final stop.
Glenn Seaton now in the car. This year's Shell Australian Touring Car Champion is buckling up and getting ready for his next stint. And
looks like they're having continuing drama with those brakes. The mechanic there was playing around with the master cylinders. They're tipping more brake fluid into the reservoir, so they're losing brake fluid somewhere in this system. So it's very important they iron out any problems like this in this race and hopefully get them licked for Bathurst. Glenn's performances with his own team at Bathurst have not been very impressive since he set up his own team in 1989. He's had no major podium finishes. Let's have a listen to what's going on down here. Looks pretty hectic. I think he said windscreens O'Brien, the pistons have fallen. He'd be referring to the hydraulic pistons and the calipers on the front brakes. They've just gone to do the pad replacement. Probably what they found is that one of those pistons, or a number of those pistons, have fallen out of the brake caliper, and the fluid's got nowhere to go but running out through the back of the car. So that's a pretty major drama.
Well, they were already 5 laps down. They're going to drop another couple or more. John Smales?
Yeah, indeed. Just have a look, if you can, at how thin the brake pad is that's come out of the car. I'm not going to touch it because there's no way I'm putting my finger too close to that, but they were running on the metal. There was just nothing left on the brakes at all.
Unbelievable. That's just paper thin. The Ford Credit team just stationary.
Well, that explains what's happened. They've worn those pads so thin you can see windscreens O'Brien there, Glenn Seaton sitting there. Those pistons, there they are. They're the pistons with hydraulic pressure push out from the caliper and squeeze the brake pads against the disc. Now what's happened, they've taken those pads so far that those pistons have come out so far that actually, by the sound of it, they've lost one. So it just shows when you take those pads right to the extreme, all sorts of dramas can happen. So a great shot there on the 10 cameras of exactly what the problem is, and I think they'll be in there for a while.
Well, the team doing the best that they can. Things have been pretty fast and pretty frantic here at Sandown International Raceway, the 1997 Tickford 500. Certainly hope you've been enjoying all the action, and this is the way they sit. Lowndes still leads the way ahead of Ingle, Jason Bryant and Wynn Percy, and Jimmy Richards still hangs in there in the top 5. We go back 6 through 10. It's Johnson, Hossack, Bargwanna, Crompton and Baird. Hope you're enjoying the action on 10 Motorsport. More after this.
Welcome back. This is the Tickford 500 exclusive to Network 10, and the competition is fierce. But speaking of competitions, this banner gives us the cue to talk about a very special one where you could make your own Holden Lion banner. It must have a Holden Lion logo on it. Take it to Bathurst. If your banner is selected as the best by the 10 Sport commentary team, you'll win $5,000. If you're watching the race on 10, phone in, vote for your favourite banner out of the 4 chosen by our team. And if your name is drawn from all those who voted for the winning banner, you'll be the proud owner of a fabulous Holden Commodore SS. We're now back in the pits with one of the Shell Helix Falcons.
Changeover time for Dick Johnson, John Bowe. The boss, DJ, gets out and John Bowe is back in the number 17 Shell Helix Falcon. Pictures from the Shell Helix in-car camera here. Seeing John Bowe just buckle up, getting ready. He's just sitting patient though.
They're in 8th position when they came into the pits.